and witty stuff, and who knows, maybe he'll stand on his head. I don't think so, though. But he's a fabulous guy. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Barrie Langley.
What a start. I want to point out, by the way, I'm not from Alton. But Hampshire, as you well know, is divided very easily into two things: the haves and haven't. And I am a poet, but I'm not a normal poet, because tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I am the poet who just can't rhyme. I am the poet who just can't rhyme. I always fail, time after try. My poems never seem to scan, although I try the best that I know how to. My work appears to be going fine, and then I reach the end of the verse. All my thoughts then turn to vapour whenever I put pen to page. And I'm not surprised the way I'm going. I can't find a word that sounds like poet. Thank you. You may applaud, but not too much, because I want to do. That's enough. Now, we need to practice something. If something's funny, you can laugh. We're not going to practice laughing, because that would sound false. But the other thing we need you to do is to practice a sharp intake of breath if there's something controversial. Okay, so let's do that now. Here we go. Controversial now. Wonderful. Right, we're there now. Now, can we have a show of hands if you have a cat? It may be good for you to leave the room. This is called splat. Somebody's ahead of me, aren't you? She used to be the family cat, but now she's just a roadside splat. She saw a Tom across the road. She didn't know her Green Cross code. Then some man in his Red Rover came and knocked out Moggy over. She used to walk, tall, slim and proud, wondered where she's not allowed, but now she's round and almost flat, like some furry tennis bat. So you're getting there. How I wish I'd thought of that and taught road safety to my cat. Tragic. So, I was going to do one about hamster, but I kind of feel that's been stopped as well. So that's how we go. So we're now going to move on. Actually, it's another cat poem, but it's not horrible. It's called Domestic. I share my home with a cat. We used to be in love, but now our relationship is strained. The cat has fleas. She says there are two sides to every story, but I found one on my arm, like a wounded soldier. It was crawling through the barbed wire hairs of my wrist, and I couldn't flatten it. So now the flat has fleas, and the cat has a fleas, and the cat has a hot collar, and she hates it, and she can't get it off. And tonight, when I came out, she was surrounded by all 150 of her friends, and she was reading her new poem about how a man has come into her house and given her fleas and bound her in a collar, and she hates it, but she can't get it off. And I shout out, there are two sides to every story. And she says, actually, we all write our own history. And they all look at me with slitty eyes in total despise. And I wish I could talk to her. But I don't speak her language. Not anymore. So I took a train, and I was in Bilbao recently, the Basque Country, and I noticed every time I went into a building there were two doors at the back. And I said, why? Or actually I said, por qué? And they said, well, it's not safe to put all your Basques in one exit. Now, I've only said that, I didn't write that, and I would say, I don't know who wrote that, but the great thing, if you go to a music concert and someone does a Bob Dylan cover or something by Bruce Springsteen or something, they credit the writer. But then nobody ever does that in comedy. Nobody said, I'm going to do a cover of an Arthur Smith joke. And he writes lots of material, and I wonder how many times people plagiarise it. You don't get the benefit. Now, anybody into tennis? Can we have show of hands for tennis? No, too many. Don't do that one then. This is what you call a found poem. Now, it's not what most people call a found poem, in that a found poem is one where you just throw bits together from something, you randomly select stuff. No, actually, I found it. I wrote it 20 years ago, and I've forgotten it. So I found it. It's called The Temptation of Furniture and Fittings. Yeah, pompous title, really, isn't it? Almost arrogant. Not as arrogant as the one before it in the book called In the Environment of Interconnectivity. That's a banger, that is. Set the curtain to the door. I couldn't want you more. I know there's a wall between us, a ceiling and a floor, but I love your shiny knob. And it's you that I... Really? Really? I love your shiny knob, and it's you that I adore. I know it seems such madness, but I really am so certain. Oh, pull yourself together. I'm a door and you're a curtain. It's an open and shut case. Yes, getting there. Oh, let me drape myself around you, thrust my pelvis in your face. Don't be stupid, said the door. You think you're so well hung, but you're coming off the rails, you're limp and in disgrace. Oh, let me give some advice, said the cupboard in the corner. I've pulled some curtains in my time, and I'll tell you what she's after. She wants to escape the window. Who she's been with all her life. He's faithfully stood by her, and she has been his wife. Oh, him, the curtain said with some regret. I could see right through him the first time that we met. This is rubbish, isn't it? And let me wrap myself around you. I'm not inclined, the door he whinged. If you think I was to come to you, I'd have to be unhinged. Besides, you have a lover, the window that you cover. And the moral of the story is the famous old refrain, stick with the one you love, even if he's a pain. We had a problem recently because we needed a new era, clothes hair. I know you're shocked, because you can be shocked about that, because artists don't need these things. And obviously I've got loads of money out of this poet, you earn so much, it's ridiculous. And I went to Argos, ordered it, went to collect it, and I was served by Debs. She seemed nice enough, but her name badge said D-E-B apostrophe S. Now, there are two explanations to this. One of them is she's illiterate, and the other one is her real name is Debenhams, and she had to put the apostrophe in to leave it out because it didn't all fit on the badge. Debs, apostrophe S. And I was quite worried about it because I was thinking, Debs what? What comes after Debs? And when I go home to Bishop's Waltham, no, you take a breath there, sorry. When I go home to Bishop's Waltham, we have exactly the same problem. Some entries into this town have Bishop, apostrophe S, Waltham. And some just have Bishop's Waltham. And there is a debate whether there should be an apostrophe or not. And what worries me is, I can't decide whether I'm more worried about an apostrophe that shouldn't be there, or one that is there, one that's missing. And I can't work it out. But what I do know is that when I was a lot younger, the local florist, Julie, decided to have a new sign put up, and it said, Julie's Florist. And she wrote, Julie's, Florist, apostrophe T. And I just wonder about the standard of teaching of English in Slough. Now we've won an election. Did you notice that? That was a surprise, wasn't it? Some of you I know, I'm not going to make any political comments, because some of you I know are probably very disappointed, and some of you are jubilant, and some of you couldn't give monkeys. But the end of it is that I've been aware for a long time about things like hustings, where people speak to us and tell us their promises and so on. This is called the speech. I actually wrote it watching American TV, but it could be irrelevant here. It was a small church hall, like any other, slightly cold, impersonal, and passionless. Rows of empty seats, folding chairs, and tea in mismatched china. We sat apart, scattered by polite shyness. Strangers gathered to hear his oratory. He stood and spoke so warmly, eloquent, open. His promises echoed in the hall and in our hearts, of what he could and should and would, shot through with such humanity, but laced with his own vanity. And as the truth came out, we all began to doubt. Now I left the meeting, and a chilled squall took my hat over the wall. But his hot air had stolen more than that, my trust in man and his endeavours. And I would later buy another hat, but I lost my faith forever. That was serious, wasn't it? It's just something light-hearted to finish. This is not that light-hearted. This is called Yesterday. All our troubles seem so far away. I just think that's a great idea for a song. And someday, I mean, this was written in 1981, so, you know, I'm sure I can take a breath there, please. Yeah, I know, it's amazing. But there we go. There's nothing wrong with the world today. It's the people that run it, that's what I say. Nature's okay if it's left on its own. We can destroy it all on our own. Ready for the sharp and take a breath? I was born in the 50s, which meant much to me. When the 60s arrived, I was already 3. So I remember the days with hope in the air when no one was filled with the current despair, when King and the Kennedys hadn't yet died and we all thought the Kremlin might be on our side, when crisp came with salt in little blue bags and no one told you shouldn't smoke fags. When the winters had snow, when the summers were hot and the cruise was a thing that you took on a yacht, when trident was only a 3-pronged fork and babies weren't born, they got brought by a stork. When we didn't have COVID, so we didn't need a cure, because saying you're positive just meant sure. When GCHQ was a secret place, and miners had soot not egg on their face. When gay men were happy, it didn't mean a beating, and the ozone was still there to keep down the heating. When Bashar al-Assad was considered a babe, and there wouldn't be a war near Europe again. When Kim was a girl's name, and Trump was a fart, and Europe was united, never to part. When Putin was something you did playing golf, and you thought kids were safe with Jimmy and Rolf. That was almost a genuine take. If we wanted food, we went to shops, not the bank, and petrol was cheaper than the beer that we drank. When fresh jokes were fun, not repeated on Dave, and Kiev was for chickens and not for the brave. When sex was a number that came after 5, and we didn't get buried. Sorry, you didn't build shelters to get buried alive. So there's nothing wrong with the world today. It's the people that run it, that's what I say. Nature's okay if it's left on its own, but we would destroy it, all on our own. Now I can see a lady over there nodding. You might think I'm a dreamer, Ross. And you think poets are dreamers. But I'm not the only one. And I hope one day you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Thank you so much.